All right, now we're going to do some parallel and perpendicular lines. So if you remember back in middle school and elementary school, parallel lines are like railroad tracks. They never cross, right? They continue the same distance away and they go on forever and ever and ever and never cross. All right? Well, if that's the case, and I was talking about equations on a line, if the slope for this line is 1/3, then the slope for this line, if they're parallel, must be 1/3 as well because they can never cross. If it's anything other than 1/3, eventually, when we keep going in a certain direction, they're going to get either closer and closer together or whatever. So they would cross if they're not the same. So parallel lines have the same slope. And then we have perpendicular lines. And perpendicular lines, remember, are special because they intersect at a 90-degree angle. And that's what that little box means. If the box isn't there, you cannot assume that it's a 90-degree angle. You have to have that box there, or it has to say perpendicular. All right? With perpendicular lines, they have a special relationship with their slope as well. And it's not going to be the same, and it's not going to be the opposite, but it's what we call the opposite reciprocal. The opposite reciprocal, and that means if the slope of this line was 7/8, it looks pretty undefined to me, but we don't know. It's going a little bit over. Then the slope of this line down here is going to have to be the opposite. So instead of a positive, it's going to be negative. And then the reciprocal is when we flip the fraction. So -8, 7. All right? So those are two key things to think about while we do this next part. Here, given parallel and perpendicular lines, you're most likely going to see problems that say, write the equation of a line that passes through the point 1, 5 and is parallel to this line or equation, and it'll, so we have this. So if I need to write an equation for a line that passes through one, 5 and is parallel to this line. Well, I know my slope's going to be the same. So my slope is going to be 3. But here's where I need to use that point slope formula in order to find this new equation. And to do that, I can, just a reminder, y minus y1 equals m times the quantity x minus x1. And I plug in my values for x and y into my y1 and my x1, and then my slope goes in here. So y minus 5 equals 3 times x minus 1. I distribute my slope, y minus 5 equals 3x minus 3. I move that 5 over because slope-intercept form is y equals, and right now I have y minus 5 equals something. So this will leave me with y equals 3x plus 2. And this line is going to be parallel and run through the point of 1, 5. I can do the same thing for perpendicular lines. But remember, instead of being the same slope, it's going to be the opposite reciprocal. So if I have perpendicular lines, I need to find the line perpendicular to this line that passes through negative 6 and 4. Okay. Well, I've got to plug these in. So again, point slope form is y minus y1 equals m times the quantity x minus x1. So if I'm graphing, sorry, if I'm plugging these in, I've got y minus 4 is equal to, my slope here. Remember, I'm finding a perpendicular slope, so it's going to be that opposite reciprocal. So instead of 1/2, it's going to be negative, and we're going to flip this, so 2 over 1. So negative 2 over x, or times x minus x1, and that point is negative 6. So really this is, I'm adding here, I'm going to distribute my slope, y minus 4 equals negative 2x, because negative 2 times x is negative 2x, and then I take negative 2 times 6, and I get negative 12. I'm not quite done yet, because again, I don't have a y equals something, right? This is slope-intercept form, this is not, this is point slope. So I add 4 to both sides, and then I have y equals negative 2x and minus 8. And this line is going to be perpendicular and passes through negative 6, 4. All right, let's talk real quick. Let's do a little bit of practices on lines that would be parallel. If I needed lines that are parallel, what would the slope be if I needed a line parallel to this? What would my slope be? My slope would be the same, negative 1/2. If I needed a line parallel to y equals 2/5 x minus 4, the slope of the line that's parallel to this is going to have a slope of 2/5 as well, right? All right, and if I needed to find lines that were perpendicular, move this ever so slightly, hope I didn't make you dizzy. If I have y equals 3/2 x plus 2, and y equals 1/7 minus 3. If I needed to find the slope of a line that is perpendicular to this line here, again, remember it's that opposite reciprocal. So push pause and try and find it on your own. All right, we're back. Your slope that's going to have an opposite reciprocal of 3/2 is going to be negative 2/3. Opposite, reciprocal. And if I needed to find a perpendicular line, the slope of a perpendicular line to this equation, opposite, it's going to be negative, and then the reciprocal is going to be 7/1, or just 7.